I'm Faye Messinger. I came to the peninsula in June of 1941, and by December of 1941, I wasn't so sure it was a good idea. So I attended school here through the war years and saw a lot of activity here. After I married and returned to the peninsula, I joined Monterey History and Art, and I was a nominal member. I sent money and dues and all that. In '96, they had the Adobe tour going, and the chairman of the tour asked me if I would set up Monterey authors for Authors Day. So I did, and it was really fun. I had about 13 of them on 2-hour shifts, and I had to about throw the people out because they just didn't want them to leave. They had great fun. And during that period, the administrative assistant of History Art said, "Would you consider chairing the library?" Now, I don't know anything about libraries. The O'Donnell Research Library is at 155 Van Buren Street in Monterey, and it's owned and operated by Monterey History and Art. They pay the bills. Everything else is donated, and we have some great volunteers. 3 of them are retired librarians who keep me in line and keep us growing. Now, the library was originally an Episcopal church, in fact, the first Protestant church in Monterey, and it was down on Pacific Street near the Merritt House. And as you come down Pacific, you can see one of the tall palm trees that used to be in front of the library. It's the only one remaining. In 1969, Urban Renewal reared its ugly head and was going to destroy the church. By that time, the Episcopalian group had moved up on the hill to a larger church, because this is a small little building. So it had been rented and sold a few times, and finally it was empty. So they said, "We're going to destroy it if someone doesn't take it." Well, Ted Durine, who was president of History and Art then, says, "We'll buy it," and they bought it for $1. And it was subsequently trucked up on a big flatbed truck, and how they did it I'll never know, because I couldn't even back my Jeep on the lot. And they backed that building onto the lot. Now, we had just purchased the Dowd house on the corner of Scott and Van Buren, and there was just enough room on that lot to get the library on it. They could only get the church proper because they didn't have room enough for the other buildings, which is too bad. We could use the storage now. But anyhow, the ladies formed a committee. Martha Bentley was the chairperson, and they cleaned everything up and started cataloging what books they had. We had a small library dedicated to Mayo Hayes O'Donnell at Casa Serrano, and so we brought those books up, and they had their grand opening in August of 1970. Well, once the membership and the city knew that we had this library, the collection just flowed in. We now have close to 3,000 books. Now, books are great, and we have some rare and very fine books. We also have personal collections, which are wonderful. And this is what the true researcher goes after. They like source material, as they call it. I like it all. Not only do we have books, we have artifacts. Some of the artifacts are a collection of Indian baskets the Delormiers picked up as they came across the country on a train. And every time the train stopped, they bought a basket, whereas most people would buy jewelry, they bought baskets. Well, we have their collection now, which is marvelous. We have Imari plates. We have personal collections. One of the wonderful collections we have is from a Monterey police judge. And he was also assistant fire chief in the 1920s. And he had, in his collection, he has several marvelous photos of the 2 major fires we had in 1924. One of them of the Hotel Del Monte, and the other of the oil tank fire down there where the Coast Guard station is now. So there's a lot of history there. We also have a collection of photos that people have given us over time. We have a whole drawer full of them. We have a closet full of more photos given to us by Amelie Elkington, who at one time was a state historian and curated the Custom House and was an early member of History and Art. So she and Martha Bentley, who was chair of the library, did a lot in putting the library together, and when Amelie passed on, she left us her collection, which is our primary source of research. It's wonderful. She has families, buildings, old streets, just all kinds of information. When a researcher gets in there, he just goes crazy, he has fun. One day, I got a call from the administrative assistant saying the Ardice family want to see their collection. And I thought, who's that? What's that? So I finally found it, and it was scattered everywhere, and I finally found it, and we put it together professionally. And these people are descended from Boutron, who came to Monterey with Father Sarah and as a soldier, and is now buried at the Carmel Mission. so very far back. We have a collection of the first and only female mayor of Monterey, Minnie Coyle. We have the collection of personal papers and photos of J.C. Anthony, who goes way back. We have his father's notebook on diary, we'll call it, of purchases and so on. And his father had served in the Geological Survey in the 1800s. So the family goes way back. And I knew Joy, who was the daughter of J.C. Anthony. And she and her husband, Hal McLean, were very active with the Red Cross during World War II. And they met all the young men who came through here, sometimes provided them with dinner because at that time he owned Herman's Inn. And have her scrapbook that just tugs at your heart when you go through it, because the kids gave her their insignias, their patches, and they wrote V-mail, if you remember what that was, and sent pictures of their family, and it's just a marvelous scrapbook to go through. And speaking of scrapbooks, we have lots of those, some donated, and Monterey History and Art used to chronicle their history through scrapbooks, and we have those. And in one of them, 1947, I find really interesting, Margaret Lyle, who was the local guru of music, she had Lyle Music Store, was very enthusiastic about a young pianist. And she said, someday he will be a great pianist. And it turns out that was Leon Panetta, who still plays the piano. Another great chronicle of what was going on is a series of letters that Wayne Edwards wrote. Now, he was a history teacher at Monterey High. I had him. Everybody had him up until the 1980s. And it wasn't until I received his papers at the library that I learned he had been a missionary teacher in the Philippines. So that was really fascinating. And he started his annual letter writing then. And later on in life, I started getting his annual letters. Well, we now have a complete set of his annual letters. And there you really see what was happening in Monterey. I particularly remember in 1948, as you know, one day we are going to have a water problem. Oh my. We have recently received the Liguria Collection, and the Ligurios were two sisters and a brother who were very much involved in the community. And Elena and Elmer cataloged all of Hotel Del Monte's and Pebble Beach holdings, so that now these fine books you see done by Neil Hotelling are the product of the work these people did putting it together. Then their sister Irene was an artist and made her living as an artist, was an art critic here in the paper, and had a lot of shows. Now I have passed up one of the most important people, and that would be Mayo Hayes O'Donnell. And she was married to Bill O'Donnell, who was associate publisher of the Herald and also the editor, and a war correspondent during World War II. She began writing an article, I believe it was weekly, about Monterey and its history. And it was done in a fashion that was interesting, and I think she had a lot to do with making the people enthusiastic about our heritage. Well, she, of course, was a longtime member of History and Art, was a forever perennial secretary, and her collection started at the core of our library. So the library is put in her name when it was still in Casa Serrano. So when we finally had a building, we really had a Mayo Hayes O'Donnell library, and we have her private collection too, and some of her husband, some of the letters when he was in Europe during the war are very touching. That's one of the things we enjoy, being able to find out about these people are through their letters and their correspondence. Now we have a marvelous book collection, of course, all donated, and we have the collection of Thomas Larkin's papers. We have a complete set of Bancroft's history. And being a neophyte to history, I didn't realize he did more than California. We have Mexico, we have his entire collection, and it's in pretty good condition. We have scores of books, and they're still writing them on the missions of California. We have the Padua collection. We have, what else? There's so much there. You can find, we have some rare books. Oh, we also have fiction. We have Steinbeck's works. We have Stevenson's works. We have Henry Miller. We also have biographies. We're pretty well covered in all the departments of a library. We feel through our library that we can bring this wonderful history to everyone in Monterey, California, and the universe. In fact, we have been contacted by researchers from Hawaii, Texas, Arkansas, New York, so they know about us. But we want our local people to really understand and appreciate what we have. Now, during Christmas in the Adobes, we do it mostly for PR, letting people know we're there. We seem to be a well-kept secret. We had a family come in and said, "Do you still take family collections?" And I tried to wipe the drool from my face, and I said, "Yes, we do." She says, "Well, we're the Sino family." And I thought, "Oh, my goodness, yes, we would be delighted if you would consider us." And we are always delighted because the personal collections are what people really enjoy. The library has been in existence since 1970. We're growing. We're open Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 1:30 to 3:45. We're pretty well staffed. We have one Friday we have to catch up on, so if you're anxious to volunteer, we'd love to have you. We have some, oh, and I should add, we brought in some youth finally. We have three college students who serve on Sundays and Fridays, so we're catching their interest too, and they're very good. We're on 155 Van Buren Street, and we are open to the public. The only thing you can't do is check out a book, but we have a photocopier, we have files, we have everything open to you, and would love to show you what we have, so come visit us.